What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today, I thought we would take a look at a very interesting Reddit post that I found titled "Hardest Thing About Being a Therapist." I'm becoming increasingly aware of how out of touch I am with what it's like to be a therapist. I have this online business. It's paying my bills. I see therapy clients 1 day a week. I don't think it's reasonable to say that my experience as a therapist is reflective of the average therapist experience. So Reddit helps me with that so much. And also you all leaving comments in my videos, which is really what started flagging this for me, is seeing how many of you left comments saying like you left the therapy profession, you decided not to complete graduate school, you're considering leaving the therapy profession and realizing, okay, I'm missing something because I love this profession so much, and clearly I'm not having a shared experience with everyone else. So what's going on here? And that leads us to this Reddit thread that we're going to dive into in today's episode. Now, this is a public Reddit thread, so I'll link to it below as long as the thread is still live. You can go ahead and follow along in the link below. However, for the purposes of this video, whenever I put up screenshots of the various comments, I'm going to choose to blur out the usernames of the various posters, just because, you know, when they posted to this thread, they didn't necessarily know that I was going to blast their comment in my video, and maybe they just don't want it showing like that. So with all of that prefacing out of the way, let's take a look at the most upvoted comments folks left in this question: what's the hardest thing about being a therapist? And this poster was simple and straight to the point. The title of their post is "Hardest Thing About Being a Therapist?" ? And then they write within their post, "What's the hardest thing?" Now, the most upvoted comment with 610 upvotes says, "Living your own life well." I can definitely imagine all the ways how living your life well might be really difficult as a therapist for so many reasons. I mean, we've talked many times in this channel about how common burnout is amongst therapists and also how underpaid we are. I mean, obviously the work that we're doing is quite emotionally taxing. And of course, depending on what kind of space you work in as a therapist, some contexts are even more emotionally taxing than others. So that can make it difficult to live your life well. Okay, the next comment showing up has 438 upvotes and a ton of comment replies with folks saying, "Oh my goodness, yes, this is me. Not following my own advice and watching my life fall apart and knowing how to fix it and knowing the S I'm doing is avoidant. I'd prefer ignorance, LOL." I'm choosing to censor the word so that this stays family friendly. But wow, what a heavy comment. I almost want to like break down this comment because there's so many elements to it. At first they're saying, "Not following my own advice," which I interpret to mean like, here I am advising clients in these different ways about how to live their lives well. And meanwhile, I'm not taking that advice. And then they go on to say, "Watching my life fall apart, knowing how to fix it, and knowing that I'm being avoidant." So they're kind of painting this picture of, as a therapist, we have both so much wisdom as far as how much advice to offer other people to help them, you know, improve their lives in various ways. And we also have so much self-awareness. Can I get an amen on that one? I so relate. We can watch ourselves fall into whatever pit we might be spiraling into because we know all the warning signs. We can see it happening in ourselves. But meanwhile, we're still humans and we find ourselves not doing the things we know we're supposed to be doing to help keep ourselves from spiraling into the pit, whatever version of the pit we might be falling into. Now, not only was this comment really weighty and insightful, but it received a whole bunch of replies. So let's read some of the responses people had to this comment. "Executive dysfunction, is that you? I relate to this on a spiritual level. If only I did a fraction of what I instill in therapy, I'd be golden." Somebody else says, quote, "Oh my gosh, I see you. You just read my soul. Was just talking to my own therapist about this today. It is agonizing." And the next quote says, "I guide others to a treasure I cannot possess. One day I'll see my struggles as valid and stop feeling bad when I have trouble. Not today, but one day." And someone responds to them and says, "Our struggles are so valid," which yes, they are. But that sensation of not being able to see our struggles as valid and still offering other people a sense of validation when we can't even access it ourselves. I mean, that's almost like its own kind of torture. So let me pause and just say, if this is you, where you're feeling like, I'm offering such good support for these clients, but I'm not able to access any of that yourself. For what it's worth, let me just say you deserve to access it yourself. Your struggles are valid. We as therapists are more prone to mental health struggles than the average person in the population compared to other career paths. Just naming that, and I want you to know you are valid. All of us are valid. Your struggles are valid. I wish there was more I could say to address that, but I needed to say that. Okay, so moving on to the next comment in response to the question, what's the hardest thing about being a therapist? With 458 upvotes, this person says, quote, giving every client 100% of your energy every day. On the one hand, I read this comment, giving every client 100% of your energy every day, and I go, yes, oh my goodness, that's what we do, and it's so tiring. And then I also have this, like, I don't know, is it the devil on my shoulder or the angel? I'm not sure, but this other side of me that goes, I do not give my clients 100% of me every day, which as I say that out loud, I react to that thinking, Marie, you're supposed to give your clients 100% of you. And then this other part of me that goes, you cannot give your clients 100% of you and stay healthy because I'm a human being and I don't have 100% to give to every single person. That's not how math works. However, I do the best I can to be as fully present to my clients as I possibly can. In this moment, no matter what else I have going on in my life, I am going to be here with you, listening to you, thinking about what's going on with you, and doing the best I can to offer you support. And I'll come back to the crap in my life after our session's over. But even if I'm fully present, I can't say I'm giving 100% of myself. I don't know. I'm wondering what your reactions are to that. Do you feel like you give 100% of yourself? Actually, I'm rereading the comment. They're saying 100% of your energy every day. I really don't give my clients 100% of my energy. Feel free to offer your input. I imagine each of us is going to have a really different reaction. And I also imagine that what I just said is probably going to pull a reaction, at least from some of you, thinking like, yeah, you're supposed to give your clients 100% of your energy every day. But can we? I don't know. Or if we can, is that good? Is that good for our clients even? The next comment in response to this question of what's the hardest thing about being a therapist, with 454 upvotes, someone says being on all day. Someone may see my schedule and, quote, only see 5 to 6 sessions for the day and think that's not a full day of work. But those 5 to 6 sessions are me being 100% on and doesn't count any additional notes, admin, stuff to do. When I used to work a more typical office job, I was in the office for 8 to 9 hours, but I was probably really on for half of that at most. So much more downtime, scrolling emails, etc. I greatly prefer actually being engaged in my work, but it can be hard, and by the end of the day, I'm usually quite drained. Yeah, 5 to 6 sessions a day is a very, very full day. Generally does end up being an 8-hour workday because you do have notes and admin. But yes, hour for hour, the work we do as therapists is way more energy than a lot of other jobs. Okay, pivoting to a very different kind of response, the next most upvoted response to the question of what's the hardest part about being a therapist, with 181 upvotes, is not being able to articulate how powerful this work can be. Yes, it's hard not being able to share specific struggles with our loved ones, but even more so, my loved ones can't even grasp the depth of what I witness in so many people's lives. It's like a spiritual experience only we understand. Yes, I so relate with that comment. And the responses to this comment are like very resonating. Somebody says, deeply spiritual. Yes, you put this so well. And I love this response from someone that says, quote, as a counselor in training, this gives me hope for this career path in a sea of negativism. Thank you. I think that's so true. We're in this much needed phase of correcting just endless amounts of like overworking therapists, underpaying us. Folks are seeing it, calling it out as we should. And because we're in this season of naming all these negative aspects about our profession, I think it's also really possible to lose sight of how wonderful this work can be. Whew. The next most upvoted one is painful. It says, quote, not always being able to help. I mean, what else do you say about that? It is so true. You can't always help. Okay, the next one's a bit long, but I think it's worth reading. With 127 upvotes, they say, quote, for me, it's working with clients who can do very little about their extremely hard circumstances and who have no good solutions. For example, a client who is deeply unhappy in her cold marriage, but who does not want to leave because it would mean 50% time less with her children. To make matters worse, she does not trust her husband at all to treat them well on his own because there have been safety concerns in the past. Meanwhile, her husband couldn't care less and doesn't want couples therapy. His life and children are well taken care of by his unhappy wife. Although still important work, it can often feel like every session is Groundhog Day, and it pushes the one button I dislike, which is the button that reads, "Am I doing anything at all? Are they getting anything out of this?" I think all of us have had a client situation like that, at least at some point, if not at all points on our caseload. Folks who are really stuck in their circumstances, that they are experiencing the short end of the stick when it comes to oppression, marginalization. And I think it would be so inaccurate for us to think that as therapists, through talk therapy on a one-on-one level, that we could help somebody step out of an entire oppressive or marginalized system that has been reinforced on a systemic level. And that is incredibly painful. Okay, I'm going to do one more for today's episode, and this one's heavy. With 118 upvotes, they say, quote, "When you're going through your own stuff, but can't take off or leave of absence, and you have to be there for others and shut off the pain you're feeling, it's beyond exhausting." Absolutely. If any of you listening are in this position where you are at the end of the line, but you just cannot take time off, I encourage you to find wherever you can. Find support. Let me leave a link to some hotlines below. At the very least, you can call somebody or text somebody, because I do not want you to feel like you are alone. Whew. Well, that was some heavy stuff. I appreciate Reddit because it creates a platform for people to be able to speak about this. Hopefully, as you're listening, if you're in the similar boat as anyone who shared, you feel validated. If you made it to this point in the episode and you feel like it, I would love it if you left a comment just naming the hardest part of being a therapist for you and also the best part of being a therapist. I think that would be really interesting to see what both of those responses are. And before we close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes helps with all of your practice management needs, from scheduling to notes to billing. They have a HIPAA-secure telehealth platform and so much more. If you'd like to check out TherapyNotes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, wherever you're at in your career, I hope you found this episode supportive and enlightening. And I want to keep talking about this stuff, so if there's similar topics that you're interested in, feel free to let me know in the comments. And until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.